LAFCO Regular Meeting, January 11th, 2018.
Call the meeting to order, and if you join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Okay, Commissioner Wieskamp?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Von Heater-Leopold?
Here.
Commissioner Miley? Commissioner Haggerty? Commissioner Chan? Commissioner Marchand?
Here.
Commissioner Thorne?
Here.
Commissioner Halbert?
Here.
Commissioner Splendorio?
Here.
Commissioner Pico?
Here.
Okay. Public comment, I only have one green slip. Luann Teixeira. Cody.
Thank you. My name is Luann Teixeira, and I'm the Executive Officer of Contra Costa LAFCO. And I'm here to bid farewell to Mona Palacios. Mona and I have become very good friends over the last 12 years, and I just want to say a few words about this LAFCO. You're a model LAFCO throughout the state, and Mona has led this commission in a forward direction. I know that you've dealt with a lot of challenging projects in the last 12 years. The Public Works CSA, Mission Guerin Reorg, Castro Valley Oraloma, Las Positas, Mount Eden Island annexations, and out-of-agency service and the vector control, and you've done a comprehensive update of your policies and procedures. The Dublin Ranch North, you've done some interesting annexations to Pleasanton and Livermore. Summer Youth Program, which was a model program for many LAFCOs, and Mona initiated that. Mona also is the Bay Area representative to monitor the Plan Bay Area. So we all 9 Bay Area LAFCOs relied on Mona for updates on that. I know you had the Castro Valley Canyon lands, which had some interesting twists and turns. And then more recently, the Fairview Fire Protection District and Eden Township Healthcare District. Also some interesting issues that pique the interest of many LAFCOs that typically are issues that we don't deal with was the Oakland Zoo and curbside recycling. So it's been a fun time, and I would just like to say how much I've enjoyed working with Mona, and I have made a lifetime friend, and so we will still be in touch. And I want to commend your commission for all the good work that you've done and for selecting Mona in the first place. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming. It's good to hear the good work. And certainly I think those feelings are returned about your LAFCO and the relationship that Mona established for it. I think it's been very helpful to this system with all the twists and turns. All right, I think we have no one else at this time. Then we will go to the consent items, the approval correction of the minutes. There are 2 sets. First one, November 9th. Any changes, approval, or correction?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next meeting, December 19th, special meeting. Who is in attendance? There's only 4 of us.
I'll move to.
Okay.
I'll second it, but
What can we do? Do we have to wait for Nate? There are only 4 of us. Or can we approve the minutes?
Well, you can.
Glenn was there,
For which one? Are we talking
the
about?
special
Second?
meeting.
Yeah, that's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
All
have-
those in
we have a
favor?
quorum.
We have a quorum. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So who motioned and who seconded?
So I made the motion. I think Swen, did you second it?
The first one, then
Oh.
I think Georgine did the second.
second.
Oh.
But, so Georgine is an alternate.
I can't.
She can't.
Oh, well then,
Take it back.
Yes.
Glenn does it.
I'll do it then. I'll make the motion, approve.
You have to show us.
You seconded it, right?
You just seconded.
I'm just seconding, okay, so.
Yes.
Okay. With that clarification, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Well, that just takes too
Keeping me
long.
on my toes. Pushed it to the last minute, I think.
Okay, the next item, regular item, is the Alameda LAFCO mission statement revision. The commission will consider the recommendation of the ad hoc mission statement committee to revise the Alameda LAFCO mission statement.
I'm supposed to touch that, I'm sorry. This item on the agenda is to present the ad hoc commission, the ad hoc committee's recommendation for a revision to the proposed, to the commission's mission statement. And that request, or that ad hoc committee was created as a result of the strategic planning workshop that occurred in September. The members of the ad hoc committee are Commissioners Marchand, Splendorio, and Pico, and we met on December 8th. And the language, as you see in the staff report, is that Alameda LAFCO provides oversight over local governments to make Alameda County a great place to live and work by balancing the preservation of agriculture and open space with the provision of sustainable municipal services. And I guess I would just add, before I turn it over to the committee members, that we had a fairly robust conversation about it, and each commissioner had ideas and perspectives that they wanted to include in the mission statement, which I think was captured in this proposed language, and I would be happy to hear from any of the committee members
Okay.
as well.
Any of the members like to speak?
One of the things that was key that we saw that everybody agreed upon was we wanted to emphasize the quality of life. And LAFCO's role in ensuring the ongoing sustainability and continuation of agricultural lands, open space, and maintaining that unique quality of life that we have here in Alameda County. And that was something that was a very strong commitment from everybody who was there. So I wholeheartedly endorse the revision.
Anyone else on the committee? Any other board? Glenn?
No, we struggled a little bit with the word oversight, which was present before and present, and we stayed with it, but I think we kind of struggled with that, but we kept it.
Okay. Tom, do you have anything to add?
No, I agree.
Okay. Any other members have a statement, thought? I'd like to say I love the idea of oversight. I underline the word preservation and sustainable. And so I think we captured it, and it's a short mission statement, and I wholeheartedly support that. I think it just has much more meaning for the average person if they can read this, understand it.
And memorize it.
And, my gosh, now we're gonna make the public memorize, okay.
So I move approval or
Okay.
acceptance.
Motion made, second.
Second.
All right. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Mission statement is approved. Thank you for your hard work. The next item is the Alameda LAFCO 2018-2020 Strategic Plan Update.
As described in the staff report, the proposed 2018-2020 strategic plan reflects the outcomes of the Commission's September 22nd strategic planning workshop. And those outcomes were further prioritized, and the Commission selected its top priorities, its top 7 priorities to address in the 3-year plan. The issues are island annexation, water supply and availability, including recycled water, accommodating public population growth while maintaining quality of life, agricultural and open space land preservation and urban growth boundaries, climate change adaptation, LAFCO independence, comprehensive study of unincorporated areas, including disadvantaged unincorporated communities. I'd like to acknowledge that staff has continued to work with Pamela Miller, who's here today, to draft the plan that you see before you. And we included definitions of the priority areas, objectives to address those areas, some key action steps that would accomplish those objectives, and a general timeline for the Commission to implement the key action steps. The Commission's Policy and Budget Committee reviewed the draft plan at its December 14th meeting. And as noted in the staff report, especially in light of the change in your executive staff, the Commission should consider the resources available to implement the strategic plan over the next 3 years. I would offer that staff has begun implementation of Priority Area 2, and that a request for proposals for a consultant to perform the water, wastewater, flood control, and stormwater municipal services review has been distributed. We distributed that RFP on December 22nd, and the proposals are due February 2nd. Later on the agenda, your commission will be considering establishing a proposal review committee and appointing one commissioner to that committee. And I just want to note that Commissioner Johnson has already expressed some interest in being on that proposal review committee, which
So moved.
I greatly appreciate.
My goodness, I think you're headed for a win on that one.
And additionally, related to priority number 6, LAFCO Independence, that staff contacted Richard Berkson of Berkson Associates to ask him to provide a brief proposal of what an operational study might look like, and he provided a proposal which I distributed a copy to each of you so that you could see what a study might encompass. And this information has also been shared with the county administrator's office earlier this week. And the commission may want to request the interim executive officer to follow up with Richard or another consultant to implement the study. So with that, I want to introduce Pamela Miller, who's here. There she is. And she assisted with the creation or the drafting of this strategic plan that's before you. So wanted to offer her the opportunity to make comments about the process or the objectives or anything else she wants to talk about
Okay.
related to the strategic plan.
Good afternoon, members of the commission. I'm very happy to be with you again, and as I said to you back in September, congratulations on the really hard work that you did during your strategic planning retreat. Your staff has done an outstanding job, in my opinion, in putting together all of the issues that you identified for yourselves as your top priority for the next 3 years, and putting it into some sort of understandable prioritization and work plan for the next 3 years with, very specific action steps that all lead up to the objectives that have been identified with the 3-year time frame. It's a very robust strategic plan. It's a very thorough strategic plan. And under normal circumstances, the best of circumstances with your tenured staff, given the robust nature of it, would probably have been a doable strategic plan as it's written. But you have a change in staff coming, and so I have a bit of a concern, as your executive officers outlined in the staff report, that perhaps this might be overly robust, given your change in staffing that will be occurring and the change in the level of resources. So I want to encourage you to continually look at the resources that you have and what is needed to achieve these objectives. Maybe even do an annual check-in as opposed to waiting 3 years. Maybe do an annual review and dashboard of the strategic plan. What have we accomplished over the last year in terms of the objectives that we set, and which of these key action steps have we actually achieved? And if we haven't achieved what we wanted to, then what are the resources that are needed, or perhaps even reprioritize? So I would encourage you to take a look at that as an option for yourself. And I also want to say that item number 6 in the plan calls for a review of the independence issue. And from a CalLAFCO perspective, I think the timing is actually perfect for this, for your commission. I understand the MOU with the county is expiring in 18 months. So with the change in staffing and the MOU timing, I think a study for what independence, greater independence might look like, this is a perfect opportunity. So again, I just want to congratulate you on all the hard work you did, really say, Mona, you did a great job, you and your team, putting this strategic plan together. And so I'm very happy to answer any questions you have. I'm very happy to support this commission in any way it needs over the next 3 years in terms of this strategic plan, or through the transition of your staffing as well. Cal LAFCO is a resource, and we're very happy to do that for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Miller. Any questions? I want to thank you for, I love the fast backtrack. I want to thank you for all the assistance you gave to staff in working on this and bringing it to fruition, and for your statements today that I think are very helpful. Any questions from anyone? I think we're in
Well, I
good
agree.
shape.
It was a pretty ambitious
Very
strategic plan.
ambitious.
Yes.
But we just have to ensure that we continue to commit the resources necessary to accomplish what we hope to get done.
I rather like the idea of an annual update that we can sort of build into it and see how we're coming along. If there's something that you think deserves harder pushing from us. And it's quite a change coming up, so thank you for your offer to be of assistance.
You're welcome.
It seems to me that with time being devoted to securing a new executive officer, that perhaps commencing implementation of this plan might be something we want to push a few months, or at least talk about it in March or May, and decide, where we sit.
And where we start?
Yeah, where we start. Yeah.
Okay, that seems reasonable. Anybody object to that? All right. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you all so much for the hard work, all of us here who were there and able to attend. That was well worth doing, I think. The next item is the city's municipal services review and sphere of influence update.
Well, I am so pleased to bring this to the commission today for consideration. We've been working on this project for quite a long time. Sharon Wright of Lampier Gregory is here today to present the final draft of the city's municipal services review. Sharon presented the public review draft to the commission on September 21st, and her presentation today focuses primarily on the revisions that were made to the public review draft based on the public comments received. A log of the public comments received and the responses to those comments was provided as part of the MSR report, and also was provided as attachment 4 to the staff report for this item. Subsequent to the distribution of the staff report and the final draft of the MSR, the City of Dublin provided some additional information to correct some information in its financial section, which the project consultant has confirmed and will make those changes. They'll be reflected in the final report. Also today, staff received a follow-up email from Bashir Anastas, who is the property owner who's interested in the Panoramic Hill area, requesting a response in writing to his comment. And after the commission adopts the MSR report today, staff will send Mr. Anastas a written response to his comment. Then what else? As a reminder, the public review period for the MSR extended from September 14th through October 20th. The MSR was posted on the Alameda LAFCO website, and a notice of availability of the report was distributed to each city, to Alameda County, and to each special district, all interested parties, and local media. Local LAFCO staff requested that each city post the report on its website and distribute it as widely as possible. The report includes recommendations for municipal service review determinations for the 14 cities in Alameda County, as well as sphere of influence determinations and recommendations for sphere updates for each of the cities. The report also includes an overview of municipal services provided in the developed unincorporated areas of the county. It does not include a review of water, wastewater, flood control, and stormwater services, as those will be included in the next municipal services review that the commission undertakes. As a reminder, the MSR determinations are growth and population projections, the location and characteristics of any disadvantaged unincorporated communities within or contiguous to a city's sphere of influence, present and planned capacity of public facilities, adequacy of public services, and infrastructure needs or deficiencies. The financial ability of agencies to provide services, the status of and opportunities for shared facilities, and accountability for community service needs, including governmental structure and operational efficiencies, and any other factors that are required by commission policy. The required sphere determinations are the present and planned land uses in the area, including agricultural and open space lands, the present and probable need for public facilities and services in the area, the present capacity of public facilities and adequacy of public services that the agency provides or is authorized to provide, the existence of any social or economic communities of interest in the area, if the commission determines that they are relevant to the agency, and the present and probable need for sewer, water, or fire protection services for any disadvantaged unincorporated communities within a city's existing sphere. After Sharon's presentation today, the commission is asked to take the following action. Determine that the city's MSR report and related sphere of influence updates are categorically exempt pursuant to section 15306, class 6, section 15061B3, which is the general rule, and section 15378B5 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines. Also conduct a public hearing to receive public comment, consider comments presented prior to and during the public hearing, and consider any further revisions to the city's MSR report, accept the city's MSR report along with any desired revisions, and direct staff to prepare and distribute the final report to all affected agencies, adopt the required MSR determinations via resolution, adopt a resolution for each city making required determinations, and updating the SOI, the sphere of influence, along with any desired terms and conditions, and direct staff to file the notice of exemption. And with that, I'll turn it over to Sharon, who's with us from Lake Pier Gregory today.
Fine.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
PowerPoint. That's me.
You can open up that file. It should be the yellow file
This one
should
here.
be in there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right up the top, the first one.
Getting there.
Well, as Mona noted, I gave a presentation on the municipal service review the last time I was here, and today I'm just going to provide an overview of the changes that have been made in the MSR as a result of public comment that was received on the document.
Can everybody hear okay? Because maybe you should switch places with Mona.
Might be
Or
good.
Okay, I'm gonna try to.
just move the mic.
Don't
They're not
tell me
gonna
it's
arrest you.
okay.
I won't do that.
Whatever
Is that
works.
better?
I think that probably is best.
Okay. So we received public comment from 3 commissioners during the meeting, 5 cities, 1 county agency, 1 public utility, and 3 members of the public. And attachment D in the MSR provides a list of those comments and how they were responded to. And then also Mona had mentioned the city of Dublin had provided some information. At the outset, there was some conflicting financial information. We have confirmed the correctness of that information, and the specific concern was that the original reporting was that they showed a deficit trend since 2008, and they've actually shown a surplus trend since 2008. So that will be corrected in the final MSR. And so part of the public comments that we received were requests for additional information or further analysis. The commission specifically asked for us to look at service provision in unincorporated communities, and so the MSR includes some of that, and I'll talk about that in a minute. We were also asked to provide context for fiscal challenges that cities are facing, and we were asked to specifically look at cities that in California that had declared bankruptcy. And so we took a look at that, provide a little additional information, and that's also included in the presentation. The other, well, other than like the editorial comments to correct typos or, you know, some data issues, the sphere of influence clarifications were the next biggest change in the MSR. And they were all centered around the city of Pleasanton and the city of Livermore. And so we had discussed previously the overlap in the quarry area between Livermore and Pleasanton. That has been addressed in the MSR. And then the Pleasanton extension to Highway 84 and incorporation of the Pleasanton Township County Water District. All of that has been removed at the request of the cities. So we took a look at the unincorporated area. So this is just a reminder of the specific services that we looked at for the cities. And we also looked at this for the unincorporated areas. And so the provision of the municipal services really focuses more on the urbanized areas of unincorporated Alameda County. And so 5 of the county departments and agencies have the primary responsibility for providing municipal programs and services throughout the unincorporated area. Those departments are the Community Development Agency, the Alameda County Fire Department, the County Library, the Public Works Agency, and the Sheriff's Office. And then the Environmental Health Department provides vector control and regulates on-site wastewater systems. And so these were the areas that we did not look at for the cities. We did not really look at them for the unincorporated areas either, because we know that these will be looked at in a later MSR, and the unincorporated areas will be included in that as well. We had looked at disadvantaged unincorporated communities earlier, and we did not find any. This MSR reflects a change. So disadvantaged unincorporated communities, inhabited territory within an unincorporated area with an annual median household income that is less than 80% of the statewide median household income. And identifying the DUCs allows cities and counties to address infrastructure deficiencies with regard to water, sewer, and fire services. And so as you can see, all the unincorporated communities, with the exception of Ashland, are above the 80% threshold. So 80% of California's median household income is about $49,000, and Ashland's median household income falls at 74% of the state median income. So Ashland is the only unincorporated community that meets the criteria for a disadvantaged unincorporated community. However, they do receive services, the sewer, the water, and the fire. So Orloma provides the sewer, East Bay Municipal Utility District, the water, and Alameda County provides the fire protection services. And my understanding is that this was this based on 2010 census information, and so the county is encouraged to look at updated information when they do their general plan to ensure service provision if Ashland is still indeed considered a DUC at that time. So just a reminder, we looked at the financial ability to provide services, and the potential challenges that some cities face, like future general fund deficits, low reserve level, high pension liability. The fact that we identified some of these flags for these cities raised an issue of, well, what does that mean? Can you provide us some context? And so we looked at Vallejo, Stockton, and San Bernardino, who all declared bankruptcy. And then I also took a look at Moraga, because they had just this past summer declared a fiscal emergency. So I just took a look at them as well. And so you'll see some of the issues that were identified. high budget deficit without reserves, declines in the housing market, obviously a huge concern, the rising employee salary and benefits for Vallejo. Stockton, very similar, they had significant cuts to public safety and other services, unable to meet their debt and pension obligations, similar with San Bernardino, so you see some similarities there. Moraga was a little different. They had a major infrastructure problem that wiped out their reserves, and that was due to the flooding that occurred. So they declared fiscal emergency. They were very specific that they wanted to avoid declaring bankruptcy, so they're currently exploring measures, reaching out to the community and holding meetings to find a way to avoid doing that. So we identify these common fiscal challenges in this look at the context. So the continuing rise in pension costs is an issue. Continuing rise in the municipal debt burden. And so with limited revenue, it's difficult for cities to continue to fund their pension and debt obligations. And that is what ultimately led to the service reductions and bankruptcy. So in general, city councils can negotiate public employee salaries and to some extent the benefits, and they also make decisions regarding the service levels. Things like the housing market, that's obviously outside of their control, and to some extent some of the benefit costs are also outside of the control of individual city councils. Are there any questions on any of this additional information?
I have a question.
Certainly.
So, my recollection of the last round, we didn't have any ducks.
Correct.
So, can you maybe expand a little bit on what happened that changed that, and now that we have one?
Well, actually, I'll let Mona take that because Mona was responsible for identifying that.
Yeah, so what I would say about that is when we did the initial review of the data, I didn't look as closely at the income level data that is published by the US Census Bureau. And so in going back and reviewing the unincorporated areas more closely and looking at that income level as well as the changes in median income that are established for the state, and the data I think we initially started with was 2010, but then when we looked at it later, it was 2015 data, I believe, for the financial information. And when I did the calculations, it surprised me too, but there was an unincorporated area that had reached a level that qualified it as a disadvantaged unincorporated community.
Because I understand that triggers certain obligations on our part.
It
Under
does.
state law.
It does trigger obligations to review that disadvantaged unincorporated area in terms of the municipal services, specifically water, sewer, and fire protection services. And so that's what we did as part of this. And I guess what I would also mention, I'm not sure Sharon mentioned this, is that area of Ashland is within the sphere of influence of the city of San Leandro. So while it triggers some obligation on LAFCO's part, our obligation really is to identify these areas. What it also triggers is that the city and the county are supposed to include some review of those areas and the level of service that is available in those areas as part of their general plan updates, which Sharon did mention, I think. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions at this time? Okay.
Okay. So the next phase of this presentation is just going to be a reminder of the sphere of influence determinations and recommendations. There are a couple of changes from the last time, and I'll highlight those. So for President Plan land uses, we have found they are adequate for existing residents and future growth. There are no anticipated changes in the types of public services or facilities for cities in Alameda County. Present capacity appears adequate for cities and continuing into the next 5 years. Existence of social or economic community of interest has been considered. The unincorporated communities of Castle Homes and Fairview are communities of interest. That has not changed. This is a change from the draft MSR. This relates to the Ashland UC, which we were just discussing. So we included language identifying Ashland as an unincorporated community that meets the criteria for designation as a disadvantaged unincorporated community, being within the sphere of influence of San Leandro. And then also noting that they do currently receive services, and that there aren't any others that have been identified to date. The recommendations have changed slightly. As I mentioned at the outset, the sphere of influence changes that we were considering for the cities of Pleasanton and Livermore have been withdrawn, and so we are now recommending that the commission maintain and reaffirm the existing city SOIs for Pleasanton and Livermore in addition to the rest of the cities here. And again, we had also recommended the reorganization or encourage the reorganization of that western portion of Alameda Island, which is in the city and county of San Francisco. And then this MSR also includes language that acknowledges that this reorganization would include the modification of the county boundary, which is not subject to the LAFCO sphere update process. And so just as a reminder, that little bump out right there on the left is what we're looking at. And then we had also encouraged the city of Albany to annex into the Alameda County Mosquito Abatement District because they are currently the only city not within that district. And also the encouraging the city of Berkeley and Oakland to work together on the reorganization of the panoramic control area. And that is it for my update.
Okay, any questions? Anything to add, Mona?
Let's see, I guess what I would add is, in the staff report, I provided a summary of sphere of influence recommendations to the commission, which reiterates some of what Sharon talked about with respect to Alameda and Albany, Berkeley, and Oakland. We also San Leandro, where we are recommending that the city include a review of Ashland to verify that it's a disadvantaged unincorporated community, and include an analysis of the water, water, and fire protection needs for that community. And then with respect to Livermore and Pleasanton, both of those city spheres of influence currently include a term or a condition to encourage both those cities to annex their unincorporated islands. And I do want to mention that for the city of Livermore, we did just last week receive an application to annex an unincorporated island, and it's the area known as Pleasant View Lane. I think maybe later, I know Sandy's been working hard to put that application together and send our required notification information out. So probably she either already did or
They
later.
might not have seen it yet, I did it
Okay,
this morning.
so we literally just got that application last week, but it's very exciting because the commission will be able to consider an island annexation. And I believe there's at least one more island in Livermore, and then for the city of Pleasanton, the same applies, that the commission encourages the city to annex its unincorporated islands, and I went a step further than Sharon did to acknowledge that the commission has required the city of Pleasanton and the county to conduct a study of the Riemann Tract area, and to possibly have the commission consider including a condition that compliance with that resolution's condition be ensured before LAFCO considers further applications. from the city of Pleasanton, and that's something I think the commission needs to discuss and decide whether they want to move forward with that. So I think that's the only other things I want to add.
That question. John?
I'd just like to make to acknowledge the contribution of the county, put up money for the infrastructure to enable that Pleasantview annexation to move ahead. So that was a big help. Appreciate the county's efforts on that.
Yeah, so I picked up on that when I was looking at this relative to the Reman tract. So what is it exactly you want to have us, the county and the city do in terms of a comprehensive study? If the people in the Reman tract don't want to be annexed, we can't force that.
Right. So as you may recall, the city of Pleasanton came before the commission because they had to request retroactive approval of service extensions to that area. And so when the commission considered that, they took the step of imposing a condition requiring a study be done for that area to understand. You may also recall that your staff conducted a community meeting out in the Reman tract, and there was a lot of conflicting information about what was the status of the infrastructure, who paid for the infrastructure, what would be needed to bring the infrastructure up to the city standards. And so as part of the approval of that retroactive request, the commission required a study to be done that would answer some of those questions. And what happens with that study, it would possibly be information that could be used if somebody wanted to move an annexation forward. It wouldn't require an annexation to be done, but at least the baseline information would be documented.
And this is a joint study, so the city and the county have to pay for this?
No, as another point of information, you may recall that the commission agreed to pay for the study.
Oh, good. Okay.
So the other thing I'll add to that,
You want to pay for half anyway?
the other thing I'll add to that is staff met with city and county staff one time, and I think that information's in the project update. I can't remember exactly what date it was. I want to say it was back in October to discuss an RFP, but that's kind of where the project is now. So moving that project forward, there was some discussion at the meeting that the city would take on the study of infrastructure, the water and sewer infrastructure, not unlike they did for Happy Valley, and that LAFCO might take on the remainder of the study, which is, you know, what the status may be of the roadways, who the current service providers are, who the future service providers are. So that's as far as that's gone, though. So.
One last question.
Mm-hmm.
Who in the county are you working with?
The planning director, Albert Lopez, and Bill LePere from the Public Works Agency were at the meeting.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything further? Glenn?
So, on the recommendations,
So I know, by state law, we're supposed to do these every 5 years. Are these recommendations for the next 5 years? Is that your intention? Or are they something that should have been folded into our for your strategic plan? Just wanted clarification on what your thoughts were.
You're asking me?
Both,
Well, my understanding when we started this process is that it was part of the regular update process that occurs every 5 years, and I don't believe that there was any intent that would be folded into the strategic plan. That wasn't anything that I personally had ever considered when making these recommendations.
And so I would just add to that yes, it's part of the regular review, but as part of the commission's annual work plan that is adopted every year, which should be in line with the strategic plan, it wouldn't be unreasonable to include any of these recommendations that the commission wishes to move forward as part of the annual work plan. And if it made sense to put it into the strategic plan, I wouldn't see a reason not to do that.
Yeah, I wasn't suggesting, I just did not want to lose track of these for 5 years, that's all.
Right.
I mean, so perhaps the suggestion would be that at some meeting, there'd be an agenda item that says, okay, we have these recommendations from our MSR review, and are we going to tackle them or not tackle them, or pass, or, I mean, that's all.
A discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. My legal counsel is reminding me that we have to open a public hearing for you to consider this.
I'm getting ready
Okay.
for that.
Okay, good.
We're all
And the thing that I would want to offer about Commissioner Splendorio's suggestion is, I know the last time we did comprehensive updates, we established an ad hoc committee that was charged with following up with the recommendations, so that all those recommendations were put in one place, and the ad hoc committee followed up with some of them. And some of those recommendations were achieved and some were not. And I think it might be beneficial to think about doing something like that.
Using an ad hoc committee to follow up. Okay,
Mhm.
that's something we can consider. Nate?
Sure. Just one other thing, so let's go to Ashland. So, did LAFCO decide to pay for the cost of the study to verify that Ashland's a disadvantage?
LAFCO has not talked about doing a study of Ashland. The only study that's been talked about as part of the strategic plan is to do a study of the unincorporated areas.
Right, but here the recommendation is that, that you want the county and the city of San Leandro to verify that Ashland's a disadvantaged unincorporated community.
That would be done as part of the city and the county's regular
Oh,
update
okay.
of their general plan. So
Okay.
we're not asking them to do
Okay.
anything outside of that.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought during our retreat, I had brought up that other LAFCOs had done similar work like that, and maybe we should look at that, doing something
Okay.
like that.
I do remember you did that, so I think that's why it was
LAFCO
added
has
on.
discussed it.
Okay, let's see if there's something further that we need to do.
And that is one of the objectives. That's of the strategic plan. It's one of the priority areas.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is new to us. I mean, the last time we went through this, we
Yeah.
didn't identify any, so it is
Right.
new to us.
Well, I
I
think it's
think
good
if you
to,
look at, I think it was Ventura.
Yeah.
it was somewhere in Southern
It was
California.
it was definitely Southern California,
Well,
because
Did
I was
somebody-
searching for LAFCO websites, because it's when I was picking on our website, and I was looking at some of the other websites. And so I was down around Southern California, and then I zeroed in on, I think it was Ventura.
Okay,
And-
let's follow up.
And they did a very comprehensive study on it. And I thought, wow, we should do that, because we have some disadvantaged communities.
It seems certainly reasonable to do it. Okay, if there's nothing further, then I would like to open the public hearing to anyone who might like to speak on this issue. I have no green
I have no
slips.
cards.
If you'd fill one out, sorry, clerk, before, after, later. Just come
Thank
on
you.
forward, give us your name and thing.
Thank you so much, members of the commission, staff. My name is Jerry Bowden. I'm the Community Development Director for the City of Pleasanton. And I just wanted to clarify a couple of points. Commissioner Miley asked a question that I just wanted to reaffirm, because we've had discussions with county staff and with LAFCO staff, and I just want to make sure that we're clear on the responsibility that would come with policy number 2 in attachment 17, which is the resolution associated with Pleasanton's portion of the MSR. So payment of the additional study related to infrastructure would in fact be made by LAFCO, and the expectation is that the city would manage the project. So that's question number 1. And then I wanted to essentially, I guess, clarify or maybe ask a question related to policy recommendation number 2, and just put it in the context of the reconciliation application that City of Pleasanton made. We were certainly interested in making sure that we corrected the issues that we had in the past in terms of not properly filing our applications. And when we did that, the understanding was that we would go out and have a conversation with the Women Track, which we did in association with Supervisor Miley's office. And it was, again, very clear that the folks living in the Raymond Tract are not interested in becoming part of the City of Pleasanton. I understand that's inconsistent with the policies for LAFCO, but it's certainly a conversation that we had. And so the additional study at this point in time does seem to be, it's interesting information and data for folks in a room like this, but it's certainly not anything that we would implement or execute on in the near term. So just wanted to make that point and hopefully, and then ask a question related to whether or not other unincorporated islands in Alameda County are also being tasked with doing additional study for areas in their communities. And then the final point is related to the way that the policy is written. Are we talking about not bringing forward applications to LAFCO across the board, Happy Valley included, or is this specific to the Raymond Trap? Those are my 3 points: the payment, the applicability of this policy relative to other unincorporated islands and policies like that, and then clarifying how it will be applied in Pleasanton.
How does LAFCO pay for the study?
Through the, excuse me, the apportionments that are collected from all of our member agencies. That's our revenue source. Otherwise, we charge application fees, but if we don't have an applicant, then there isn't an applicant to pay the fees.
This continues to give me heartburn, and I should, usually I'm better at letting things go, but we waived a bunch of fees a while back, and now we're continuing, all of us are now supposed to pay for a study. And I personally still don't believe it's fair, but I'll go into therapy, maybe with the mayor. Maybe it'd be a form of marriage counseling or something, and I'll come out a better man and try to get through this. But I just don't understand why everybody should be paying for it through the member agencies, and then because the city of Pleasanton didn't do their fees properly, or they collected fees, but they didn't pass them on to where they were supposed to. I don't think it's fair. I'm on record.
Mona, would you like to
That's my
answer
opinion.
some of the other questions?
Absolutely. Excuse me.
Okay.
So with respect to the payment issue, that's a good question, Jerry, because my recollection, and I have to go back and look at my notes, I do understand that LAFCO agreed to pay for the study. And then when we met in the city of Pleasanton's offices, the city manager talked about Pleasanton taking off the water and sewer infrastructure part. And I don't honestly recall whether that included the city paying for that and LAFCO taking on the rest, or LAFCO paying for that, so we could clarify that. With respect to other island communities being asked to do studies, I would answer that by saying, to my knowledge, they haven't been asked to do specific studies like this yet, but the Raymond Tract gets practically all of its services from the city of Pleasanton, and in that way might be somewhat unique to the other islands that have been identified, which are either less developed or don't get the services provided. So I think that's the heightened awareness that LAFCO has for this area, is that the city's basically providing all of the services to that area, and it's higher up on our list, I think, for that reason of prioritization as a candidate for annexation. Even though, as you are aware, I did that community meeting, and I heard the community members say, out of the 40 people that were there were probably 6 that said we're interested in annexing. So I do understand that. But I do also feel like it's important to have some agreement about the basic service level as it exists for that community, because there seems like a lot of confusion that brings up a lot of angst that probably doesn't need to be there if there was documentation. And remind me, what is your last question?
It's related to whether it's the Raymond track and bringing application to LAFCO.
Right.
That's how the resolution was worded, that's referenced in that policy.
Right.
But we do have other business in Happy Valley that we would like to bring forward.
Yes,
Some of
and
the
I'm
operators.
aware of that, actually, having just heard from one of your planners recently. And so I would put that to the commission. I will say this, as your staff, it was really my intent to put out, for lack of a better term, like the nuclear bomb of don't accept any more applications from Pleasanton until this is addressed. But that's up to the commission to decide what you want to do, if anything, to encourage this project to move forward, and that project being at least getting some information about the Reman tract, baseline information.
So the question is about Happy Valley or?
Reman, well, the question is, I
That
believe,
seems to be an
does,
additional question.
does the sphere of influence recommended condition that the study of the Reman tract occur before the commission accepts considering any further applications? And as Jerry just referenced, there is potentially one out-of-area service agreement application that is being discussed by the city of Pleasanton. I think the city council's already approved bringing that application to LAFCO. So would it hold up an application in Happy Valley if we're waiting to get that Reman tract study done? And then I will also add that I think just yesterday, somehow the days are all melding into my head, but yesterday or the day before, I got a call from a property owner off West Foothill who had talked to a planner in Pleasanton, so I'm sure you guys are aware of this, who's interested maybe in annexing, but really he wants sewer service to his property, but he's contiguous to city limits as they are right now, and he would be interested in annexing. So again, would the commission consider an application like that with this Reman tract study not completed, or would it not want to join those two?
All right, can we consider that question today and incorporate it?
You could consider that question today.
I'd like to hear from board members.
I'm struggling a little bit with this whole idea of doing the study anyway, because we've got a situation where the people that live there do not want to be annexed, and we can't force them to be annexed, so why are we doing the study?
Can I ask a question?
Clarification of facts.
Because that was rhetorical, isn't it?
Yeah, the commission's
Well,
already,
I'd like an answer.
Well, because I think there are some people, we had some people here that did want it. So I don't understand why we don't do a vote out there. Put it on the ballot in June and have the Raymond tract vote up or down and be done.
We don't have the facts though, do you?
We don't what?
Isn't that the issue?
that's one of the issues,
You don't have what?
I would argue.
Facts. Georgie?
Well, I think one of the things that was obvious when they were here is they don't even know what annexation means to them. Financially, what the city would pay for, what they would pay for, and frankly, I don't know either. What would they be forced to do? I think that's what the study's supposed to address.
Okay, John?
Well, we heard a lot of people say, well, we don't want to be part of the city. We want to be in the country. Well, part of being in the country is you don't have city services. So they want to get all the city services, the water and sewer and everything else, but what I heard is we don't want anybody else to get city services because we don't want anybody else coming into our community. So it's really it's a tool for exclusion rather than whether or not there's city services being provided, because they all have city services. It's not like they don't want them. They've got them. They want to deny them to everybody else. And there are people that want to go into that community and can't. And I kind of like the nuclear option here, because we've been fiddling with this for a long time. And maybe we need a little bit of leverage to finally get this thing solved.
You're right.
Well, maybe based on these questions that are arising here, maybe we do need to do the study, to give more facts. It's quite, since I represent both the Reman tract and the residents of Pleasanton, the city of Pleasanton, I think whatever's in the best interest, but I wouldn't want to force anything on the Reman tract without having complete understanding of the implications of that, and if it's in the public good. But I know from my limited experience, only representing the area for how many years? Scott had it for up until 2011. So the past 8 years or so, but I just think we should probably do the study, especially since LAFCO's going to pay for it. But
How much
You like that addendum.
but I don't think we should hold up anything else, because it might, I think that's punitive on the part of those property owners that might want to be annexed in or have services delivered to them. And I just think that's punitive. So thing, but Happy Valley's another thing.
And so I just, as a reminder, so I think it was July's meeting where the commission considered the Reman Tract retroactive approval, and that is where the condition exists already, that the commission has adopted to do a study of the Reman Tract area. And again, as my trusty legal counsel is just reminding me, there was a provision which I'm going to be hard pressed to explain the mechanism of for the city of Pleasanton to reimburse LAFCO as properties develop in Reman Tract. Something I really can't explain the mechanism, but that was part of the approval, was to get some reimbursement. I'm not sure it would be full reimbursement to LAFCO. I'm not sure how it would work. But the condition includes that statement that the city would reimburse.
How much are we talking about for a study?
30 to 35.
Yeah, that's what the Happy Valley study was, so I would say at least that much.
Somewhere in the 30,000, 35,000 range.
What would that do to our city, the rate of the organizations that chip into LAFCO's budget? Would it increase it, or would we be able to eat this?
We do have a contingency amount in the budget that we, if we were to do the study this year, for example, we would probably use that because it wasn't planned in the work plan this year to do that. And I don't have the budget in front of me, but I'm sure there's funding in that contingency that could cover that.
Another question I have is a study for study's sake is one thing, but a study with metrics that would say that if these metrics prove out this way or that way, it would tend to direct our actions. Like if all of these conditions are studied and found to be a certain way, then we would be predisposed to act a certain way. And if we study these things and it's not a good thing to do, we would tend to be predisposed to not act that certain way. It would just provide more relevance to the study. Like we're going to study it and get done with it once and for all, not study it and then have to put it on the ballot or whatever. It would just maybe be worth it to spend the money that way.
So that's
Would
some
our study-
recommendations.
Would our study be structured that way?
It could be.
Okay, all right. I'm going to look to my left now and see who would like to say something. Anybody?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that I kind of, as I remember this nuclear kind of option, we were pretty much, I felt like the board was in agreement that we would be trying to encourage and to force and do what we could to have the annexation of this unincorporated Reman Tract accomplished after all the years that we've been fighting with it and looking at it. And as part of that process, we were trying to figure out what's it going to cost to upgrade the infrastructure and everything else to bring it to city standards, or do we even have to bring it to city standards? Would the city accept something less than current city standards in that particular area, as they talked about with Happy Valley in the past? But needing to know what the costs are going to be and what the options are going to be, so that we could determine, number one, who was going to pay for it, whether there'd be any sharing agreement between the city and the county and the residents, et cetera, but that we needed to have that study before we could move forward. And I strongly encourage that we continue along that path.
So there we are. Glenn?
I want to address something that Jerry mentioned, but Andrew, is this under the act, is this an island? I mean, you can't force them. Well, certain islands you can force. But is this, I don't remember the size of it or anything. Do you ever take a look at, if this is one of those, Mona, did you?
Mm-hmm.
Is this?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It is about 22 acres, somewhere between 22 and 25 acres. I'm sure the city of Pleasanton staff could answer it directly, but and something like 48 properties. It's substantially developed. It gets most of its services from the city, and it is fully surrounded by the city of Pleasanton. So it qualifies under Government Code Section 56375.3, which is the island annexation provision.
So, all right, thank you.
Yes.
So,
Speaking as.
There are very law degrees.
So it's not that we just do this because it's fun. It's because the state law requires us to look at islands and to do something with them, whether I know, they may not want to be, but there's, presumably there's a policy that the state legislature, applied to write these laws into place, and it's our job to implement them, and not that, we don't have some discretion, but, we're supposed to follow them. And so that's the premise of all this. It's not, we're just doing this because, we got nothing better to do today. But I also want to add a little history, and I echo what Tom said here. On my time here, there have been other times when we have encouraged islands to be annexed, and we have, every situation is different, so we're not singling out Pleasanton, because I get that sense, it's not happening. But I remember for years, Supervisor Steele dealt with annexations in Hayward, and we pushed, and it finally happened. I mean, it took years, and that was a struggle, and it happened. And you have another example that Mona mentioned, that Livermore and the county are cooperating on the Pleasant View Lane annexation. They did a study. They found out, because really the study's going to say, very similar to what Happy Valley, how much is it going to cost, what's it going to take, that sort of stuff. That's what you get. And the people have the information, but you have an example where Livermore County cooperated, the property owners, I don't know how much they cooperated, but
there was some contentiousness.
There's a contentiousness, but they overcame it. So, we have many tools, and yes, we can go this nuclear option, and other counties, LAFCOs, have absolutely gone there. But it just seems to me, our culture, our belief system is that we don't do. Maybe we'll have a change, but I've seen. I think Santa Clara did, San Bernardino did, Fresno maybe. That's what they did. I don't know if that's their better culture or ours is better, but I think I'm in line with Tom. Is let's keep encouraging. Let's hope they see the light and we get there, because that seems to be more in line with our values. But if it's not, and we want to change, okay, let's deal with it. But it just seems to me that's our history. My history here is we push and push as best we can to get you there. Not because we don't think it's a great idea, which is we're required to do it.
Okay, so you support the study?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'd actually go along with Tom as well. More importantly, I think one of the things that the study ought to look at is financing options. So I know from my experience in public works that once people understand they don't have to pay for this as cash up front, they can pay for it over 20 or 30 years, or maybe like the Livermore, maybe there's some financial supplements from the city and the county. It makes it a lot easier for people to accept. I know that was my experience when we did the Castlewood water and sewer program. Everybody initially thought they'd have to pay for it up front, but actually it turned out to be something that got put on their property taxes they could pay for over 30 years. It was really, it was expensive, but they could do it.
One of the incentives that the Pleasant View Lane had was that they saw that the increase in their property values, because they were getting city services.
Yeah.
One of the complicating factors here is the people that are there now already have city services, and the people that aren't living there can't get them, because the city allowed some people to get in it. Now other people aren't going to be afforded the same rights to move into their property, because they can't get the city services that everybody else got, because it's not going to annex.
Okay, Nate?
Yeah, so when I asked the question initially, I didn't think we could force an annexation. But based on everything I'm hearing, if we couldn't force an annexation, initially I was thinking, well, why do the study? I was with the mayor. But as I thought about it and heard more of the discussion, I feel the study would be beneficial. And as Mayor Howard pointed out, Commissioner Howard, I think what we need to do is determine the scope, the parameters of the study that hasn't been done already. Because I really would like for the consultant to come back with a recommendation, just like we did with the Eden Healthcare District. So we could decide whether, because I'm not afraid, if the study shows that it should be annexed, and maybe that might be associated with some time frame or this, that, or the other, or some recommendations, then I think that's something we should consider. But once again, we have, at least while I've been here, I know there's been no definitive study on this to determine the cost and the merits, and
Right.
and I do think it doesn't make a lot of sense to have an island like that. So I support this.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to say, I think the study no doubt will show that it should be annexed. I mean, it sits right in the middle of the city, and, well, on the edge, but it also has a living room right there too. I mean, there's no reason it should not be in the city other than the fact that people have it to be. And I'm not quite sure that that's, you know, the reason, other than the fact that I think it's important that we look at other issues such as financing. And if the study's going to include all those issues, then I think it is important to do the study.
Okay. Have we already approved this?
Yeah.
That's what I understand.
Yes. The study you've approved.
Yes.
The issue before you now is whether you want to attach a condition to the city's sphere of influence to join the completion of that study with consideration of any future applications from the city, which,
Outside the area.
not, it could be inside the area or not. It could be inside Pleasanton
Somebody
only.
had mentioned that, and I remember that being part of the original discussion.
Yeah, it could be, if the commission wanted to restrict that to Reman Tract, so that if there are any future applications from Reman Tract.
Any thoughts on that?
Just one final thought. I also did not realize that we could force annexation. So I too think the study probably should go forward. But there's absolutely no reason for this to be not be incorporated in the city. I mean, it's completely surrounded by clubs.
Well, my goodness, this discussion headed in all directions, and we seem to have come to a consensus view that we can do it, it's appropriate, but you need the facts.
And I think that discussion is focused on doing the study. I just want to clarify, because I've heard the term forced annexation a couple times, that I don't believe LAFCO can force an annexation. We cannot initiate an annexation. The force would come from denying consideration of other applications until, until this study was done. And the expedited annexation provisions around island annexations that I referred to before, LAFCO is required to approve an annexation, but the city has to apply. So that's one provision that I didn't specify before because you were just asking me about whether it qualified as an island. But the provision that would enable LAFCO to consider without protest from the property owners or registered voters in the area is that the city has to be the applicant to LAFCO.
So that's not really a forced annexation, though. That's more of a punishment.
Yes, that is
I'm
true.
not sure what it is.
It's a punishment. It's a punishment to the entire city. It's not a forced annexation of an island. It's a punishment to the entire city.
Commissioner,
Which I think is very different.
Excuse me, Commissioner Hagerty, I have some concerns about the proposed SEQA findings that your commission is to adopt in the resolution for the city's sphere with respect to that particular recommendation, because it functions as, I read it as a broad moratorium on any applications being approved until such times as the study is complete, and there is no time frame. From my recollection, in your July resolution ordering the study for it to be completed. So that does have some potential, it has at least a potential for impact on the environment that should probably have some more analysis before adopting a resolution, including findings that there's no potential impact on the environment from that, what functions as a moratorium.
So what's your recommendation?
It wasn't him, it was me, the fake lawyer.
So I should have talked before the meeting.
Yeah. I would also just put out there that it's possible the commission could consider all the other items and continue that one for further discussion.
It seems to me that we still have some mixed thinking on this.
Yeah.
We need clarification on the issue. Exempt this issue?
just this one resolution, which is resolution number, it's attachment number 17. It doesn't have a resolution number yet.
Okay.
But attachment 17.
Does that seem reasonable to members? Seems to me to be reasonable. We'll come back for further discussion just on that at a later date.
Madam Chair, I won't be able to sleep tonight if I don't say this, but it's really not germane to the conversation, but I need sleep. I was very concerned about the discussion about Happy Valley coming forward. Happy Valley already is an extremely dangerous road, and to hear that there's gonna be more annexations coming forward from the city of Pleasanton, I'm really, really concerned. Now I can sleep, but I'm gonna tell you, I'm just sending a warning to the city of Pleasanton that, you know, last time we went through this, I was, you know, we put in like turn restrictions and things like that. And we actually said you had to put in a gate, which they did not do. They never did it. There was turn restrictions put in, which have since been removed. It's not fair to what has happened to the county residents out there. So I'm just gonna tell you as a LAFCO commissioner, I'm gonna look at it totally different. But I now feel better, so I can sleep.
Is it the agreement of the committee to put this one item over to a further discussion another date?
If you want, I'll make a motion to start off here, that's what you need. So I'll move to the staff's recommendation, except that this provision regarding, in essence, blackballing any Pleasanton application, will be put over to the next, our next LAFCO hearing. Is that, Andrew, is that adequate, or you need more
Need more
specificity?
time
More specificity?
to
Well,
review?
Because at this point, we have no moratorium. I mean, we don't have it. So no, nothing stops Pleasanton from making an application. But this policy we'll consider at our next LAFCO hearing.
So I think you're recommending that the proposed resolution be, for the city's sphere be adopted, removing that one
Exempt.
item and continuing it
Right.
as a standalone
Yeah.
sphere amendment?
Yeah.
Would you like that at just a future meeting, or do you want to say the next meeting?
I think that's at the pleasure of the commission when it wants to consider it.
I'll say next meeting, because
All
I
right,
think we should
if
address
we need
it.
to hold it over, we can. All right, do you have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Further
Who made the
discussion?
second? Me.
Okay. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. That took a little bit, thank you. The next item is to establish selection committee to review proposals to complete a municipal service review for countywide water, wastewater, flood control, and stormwater services.
I nominate Ralph Johnson.
I think I knew that was coming. I have a nomination for the member from this group. I've heard that. Do we have a second?
How many nominations do you need?
One.
Just one.
Okay. All right, Ralph, you're willing to be?
Oh, yes.
I thought he probably was. Okay. Any discussion on this item? It looks to me like the fix is in. Ralph is our person. So-
Okay, so the selection committee is formed and Commissioner Johnston will be on it, it sounds like? Okay,
Was there a motion? Do we need a motion?
Was there a
I made the
motion?
motion, I made the nomination.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's always nice to be appointed to something you want to serve on. Next item is item 9, the interim executive officer appointment. The commission will consider appointing an interim executive officer, and the staff recommendation is to adopt a resolution appointing Joni Patello as interim executive officer.
Move Joni Patel.
Second.
Okay,
Oh, can I say?
motion made and seconded. Since Ms. Patello is here, she doesn't look like she's running away from it. I think that's good.
I'm an alternate, so we should have somebody that's on the
Right.
regular commission.
That's what I was wondering.
Anyway, in discussion, all those in
Wait,
favor?
wait.
well,
Right.
hold on
Yeah,
to this,
second.
yeah.
I'll move Joni Patel.
Oh,
second.
we did.
Okay. Scott seconded.
Somebody
I
seconded.
moved it.
I moved to Scott.
Okay, you're good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Congratulations and thank you, Mr. Mullin. Would you like to say anything at this time?
Sure, why not?
Why not? I mean, it's your opportunity.
When given an opportunity to take the mic, take it.
You had to listen to politicians enough. It's nice to be able to.
Actually, I'm very honored to be doing this. So you and I will be, the board will be in contact very shortly. I want to get on your calendars. Probably the most important, there's a couple objectives. One is to keep LAFCO going smoothly. And then number two is to get you an amazing replacement. So those are the two things that I'm tasked with. The other thing too is that I just want to be really clear and transparent about this. There was some concern as far as my availability and time. I'm available to do what needs to happen. It's not confined by 40 hours. I will be sending you an email shortly that with my phone number that you can contact me at any given time. I've always been tasked with projects when it comes down to making that happen. So the idea is that you won't hopefully see any, it's going to be a learning curve. I've been doing a lot of reading. Andrew supplied me with a lot of reading during the holidays. It was wonderful LAFCO reading, which is actually very important, to be honest with you. I think I wish I would have known a little bit more as the city manager. But the idea is that Mona has done a good, trying to set me up with information sources. You have a staff that's dedicated. You've known Sandy longer. Sandy has the longest tenure as far as with LAFCO. I have concerns. I don't have concerns. I have more kind of, making sure that we do this correctly, because these land use issues are incredibly important to not only, because of LAFCO's role, but to the communities in which LAFCO works with. So I know how important these land use decisions are. So that's about it. Any questions?
She also answers emails at all hours of the night.
I do. So I think that one thing that was really interesting is because I'm listed as working part-time. I've worked anywhere from 30 to 40 to 50 hours part-time. So if that gives you any indication. Because I have to keep up with Susan Marinishi, and that's a tough act to pull. So I actually
also answers emails at 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. So the idea is that I don't think that you'll hopefully see, hopefully you'll see a hiccup in service.
Senior staff at the
I
county.
have the most faith in
She's
you.
a
I
special
just
assistant
happened to be
to
mentioning
Congress.
this meeting and
Okay.
was talking to
Confirm
Erlene
senior
Vargas, and she said, well, there is nobody more honest and hardworking than Joni Patilla. So.
I will have to send her a check. Thank you.
Anyway, I appreciate it, and I think you've got a great staff to work with, and so working together, I think you can do a great job.
Thank you.
Joni.
So, Joni, I've just got a couple. Are you actually located in the county administrator's office?
Yes,
Because you have an office there.
yes.
Okay. And then I guess the other question I think that Mona and I talked a little bit about is just the idea that the staff that we have, we've got Mona full-time, Teresa part-time, Sandy part-time. Are we going to see an increase in their time?
I
or
think
what?
that, just to be fair, let me come in and assess that.
Okay.
My most important thing to the board is to be able to afford you both the right level of staffing.
Right.
And for me to come in and just say that I know the whole makeup, I really want to kind of break it down a little further. I've been doing a lot of talking, as I said, I've been doing a lot of reading about LAFCO, and I, by no stretch of imagination, am an expert on this. I find my task in being able to support the LAFCO board in a fashion that, Mona's left, as far as making sure that you're responsive and all those things. I am very responsive. If there's something I don't know, I will find the answer for you.
Okay.
2 is to make sure that we get you a replacement that you guys are very satisfied with. So I find that those are my 2 kind of major tasks as the interim.
Well, I think everybody is willing to work with you. I know Pamela Miller has said, and she has a great deal of expertise. I think everybody wants this all to be a successful operation. So thank you so much for your willingness to do this.
Thank you.
Okay, doing your motion? We're done?
We did it.
We did it, we're done, okay. All right, I'm going to suggest that we skip item 10 for the moment and go through 11, 12 next. Is there any matter to be initiated by members of the commission? No. All right, informational items, anything you want to highlight or have questions on? No. Then we will move back to item 11. And this is appreciation to Mona Palacios. And I think the only green slip I have we'll start with is Pamela Miller first. Welcome, Pamela.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Excuse me. I'm here wearing two hats. I will start with a personal message to Mona. I've had the privilege of working with you for 5.5 years now. And I find that you are kind and curious and resourceful and very authentic. And I cherish all of the contributions that you've made to Cal LAFCO under my watch and before me. Most of all, from a personal perspective, I cherish our friendship, and I look forward to that continuing long after you leave LAFCO. Now, representing Cal LAFCO as the executive director, we're going to try not to take this personally because this LAFCO has been very involved with Cal LAFCO over the years. And we now have lost, within a matter of a couple of months, 2 board members from your commission. And the legislative committee is losing a longtime member with Mona leaving. So like I said, we're going to try not to take that personally. But I know that the legacy will live on and that you will continue to be as engaged in Cal LAFCO as you have been in the past. And I'm here representing the Board of Directors to present you, Mona, with a certificate of recognition on behalf of Cal LAFCO. You have been a very active participant in Cal LAFCO activities, both on the legislative committee, on conference planning, staff workshop planning, on panels, making presentations, just really a wonderful, wonderful resource for Cal LAFCO, and we're very grateful for that. So if I could, the certificate is a certificate of recognition presented to Mona Palacios in honor and recognition of her 12 years of dedicated service to the Alameda Local Agency Formation Commission from January 2006 to January 2018, and with deep appreciation for her 7 years of service on our legislative committee, and with our greatest respect for her countless contributions to Cal LAFCO through the years. And it's signed by Gay Jones, Chair of the Board, and myself. And so, on behalf of the entire board, we thank you for all of your contributions. We wish you all the best.
Wow. I don't know this. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the commission, I'd like to honor Mona Palacios. Whereas Mona has served as staff to the Alameda Local Agency Formation Commission, LAFCO, as analyst from January 2006 through June 2008, and as executive officer from June 2008 to January 2018. And whereas Mona has provided outstanding and invaluable service to Alameda LAFCO, and whereas Mona has guided the commission through many important projects, including the annexation of the canyon lands into the Castro Valley Sanitary District, the special study of the Eden Township Healthcare District, the completion of the updates and municipal service reviews of the special districts and cities, the commission's strategic planning sessions in 2014 and 2017, and whereas Mona has increased the awareness and understanding of LAFCO through giving presentations and through her coordination and facilitation of community meetings involving LAFCO projects, And whereas Mona has shown herself to be a dependable, helpful colleague, demonstrated by her willingness to frequently host meetings of the Bay Area LAFCO executive officers, and by her volunteer activities for Cal LAFCO that include planning for the annual staff workshops and conferences, and her participation on the legislative committee. Now therefore, that it be it resolved, the Alameda Local Agency Formation Commission commends Mona for her extraordinary contributions to the commission. Be it further resolved that the Alameda Local Agency Formation Commission does hereby extend its most heartfelt thanks and appreciation to Mona Palacios for her exceptional service to the commission and wishes her well in her new endeavors. And it's signed by myself and Scott Haggerty as vice chair, and of course the names of all the other members are here. And I'd like everybody to stand up and present this. Oh, we're going to give a chance everybody to say something. Feel good. Everybody together.
Squeeze together.
Yeah, how's that work?
It's not gonna work.
We
We
can
can
do
try.
balance, but we can't do this.
We absolutely have everybody in there.
Panoramic.
There we go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, my camera's not on.
Okay.
Okay, one more, just
One
in
more.
case.
Sandy, whatever she wants.
Okay. Got it, great.
Great. Sit again. And then I'd like Sandy to come forward before we all talk. Sandy did us all a favor by coming up with something very special for Mona that I think she's going to enjoy. So I would like her to present this because she's the one who's been here forever.
Yeah, well, no.
Well, here.
Same as mine, actually, no, a little bit longer. You've been here longer than 14.
Yeah,
You're
anyway, we typically, the commission presents a plaque to honor people, for their service. And Ann and I were kind of on the same page as, don't get a plaque. It's something, recyclable awards. Recycle. So I was able to find this really beautiful, recycled flower vase glass, that they described just this morning in the last minute. I think just to kind of have it in the right direction to see the inscription, but it reads, Mona Palacios, Executive Officer, in recognition of your outstanding service to Alameda LAFCO from January 2006 to January 2018.
Thank you. And this is because I think she's a ray of sunshine and she deserves some flowers for that vase.
Oh, thank you so much.
Now, everybody get a chance to say, thank you, Sandy, for that. Perfect, absolutely perfect. Okay, I think Nate was the first one who said he'd like to speak up.
Sure, I'd like to make some remarks regarding Mona.
She's over
Make sure you're
here.
paying attention.
Yes, she's over here.
She's guarding her base.
So, as much as, we're gonna miss you here, Mona, since you're a constituent, hope I'll get a chance to continue to work with you, and I know you'll be at East Bay Regional Park District, and the county often has interactions with the Park District. Sometimes pleasantly, sometimes not so pleasantly. It's hopefully
I look forward to all of
more pleasant. Yeah, but, and as the resolution pointed out, we've worked on some very significant issues in the unincorporated community. And you've put in a lot of time above and beyond going to community meetings, meeting with various stakeholders, going to meetings at my request, sitting down with me on various of these issues over the years. And I've been here since I've been a county supervisor, so I've been here I'm not the longest member. I think Scott might be, I'm not sure, but I've been here for 18 years on LAFCO. And I've seen the other LAFCO directors. Luann was fantastic. Crystal was great. I think you actually raised the bar. And I just want to say something personally to Mona too, because when I was the president of the Board of Supervisors, it's a tragedy in her family that took place. And I know that still probably hits you hard, but best of luck, and I'm happy you're not leaving the county geographically. You're just going to another position. So I wish you all the best, and I've enjoyed working with you.
Thank you.
And continuing to work with it. Right. Anyone else who would like to be next? Anyone?
So when I was more actively working, I encouraged my staff to always take an opportunity to look for other jobs, thinking that they'd look, but they'd come back. But every once in a while, one of them got away. And I think that's the case here. And I think you're going to enjoy your new job at the Park District. We're really going to miss you here. And I brought a cake.
Before we break for cake, I just wanted to point out that my gratitude to all of you. I've so enjoyed working with each and every one of you. All of you have been great, and prior commissioners as well. I have learned so much about the county that I live in. I would not have had this opportunity, so I thank the county administrator for assigning me to LAFCO. Initially, I have benefited greatly, and I really hope that I've left the commission stronger and better than I found it. And as a token of my appreciation, as some of my colleagues here who are with LAFCOs know, we're on a list. When we're on Google Alerts, we get notifications about LAFCO, and local agency formation commissions are only one LAFCO. There's this other organization that does fancy pants, perfume, and soaps and lotions out of New York. And I've actually been to the store. It's in Soho in New York. I might actually visit it again when I go to New York. It's quite fancy. You feel very special when you're in there, just as special as you do when you're sitting here. And so I got each of you either soap or lotion. I'm not sure who got what, but I hope when you use it or look at it, you think of your former executive officer. So thank you all for the opportunity.
We don't have to support this.
It's fancy pants, but no, it's under 40.
It's under that.
It's under 40.
Jody, do you want to say something, and then we'll come back to the city board members?
One of the things I wanted to do.
More flowers.
More flowers, yeah. Susan wanted to be here today, but was unable to because she has a meeting in Sacramento as part of her professional affiliation. So I wanted not to let this moment go by, and I really appreciate that Mona recognized that it was Susan Marinishi that assigned her this role. It's a daunting role as I'm reading through it, but I think she took it with gusto. But I just want to recognize that it was one of those assignments that I think she just kind of grabbed onto and did extremely well. I can hear about it, the accolades and all that kind of stuff. But Susan didn't want this moment to go by and not recognize her in front of the board that she's been working with for all these years. So I just wanted, this is from Susan Marinishi, the county administrator.
Thank you so much.
All right, I want to say something. Hold on. You guys gotta go. It's all right. You're not missing anything.
Booked a JPA meeting at the same time.
Okay, all right.
Oh, you're gonna miss the cake?
I had all the jokes and everything.
You
All
missed the
right.
cake.
More cake for us.
They missed the
More
cake.
cake for us. That's okay.
Okay.
So anyway, Mona.
Oh, yes, sir.
We, in many respects, we grew up together in this.
Yes, we did.
And both of us not knowing a whole heck of a lot, and I think and I appreciate very much that we grew up together with this and did. I just think we had some good times, we had some stressful times, as with any relationship, right? But I think we overcame a lot of them and got to know each other and worked quite well together. We like I said, we not only here on LAFCO, but when we, Cal LAFCO events and everything from browbeating the other counties into the wine competition
Maybe so you would win.
so we could win, to taking field trips like that magical day we spent in the East Bay Regional Park District helicopter.
Oh, yes. That's right. With Katie Folks.
Huh?
With Katie Folks.
Yeah, with Katie and in the.
Now that you've worked there, can we all have rides?
I'll put it on my list of things to do.
I mean, it was a nice tour of all the parks in Alameda and Contra Costa County, but I'm sure the funnest part was when the helicopter was diverted because there was police action going on in Sonol that we may be part of. We all looked at each other and I said, yes, and she was like, I have a family. But mostly, I want to tell you that what I most appreciated about you was you said you were always willing to say why not. And why, if I would say something stupid and crazy, which I know I tend to do, you would at least say, well, let's look at it, let's see why not. I very much appreciate it. That is a quality that I think is one of your strongest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I'd just like to say I've been looking upon this as an opportunity for me at the East Bay Park District, being very sad to lose you here. But I think the Park District, she served on our Park Advisory Committee and she's done very well on that. And I just think she's an asset wherever she goes. I still remember when I was in Australia and I found out I was appointed to this. And everybody else on the bus thought it was so weird that I cared about being on the local agency formation commission. And it was very hard to explain.
Yes.
But I enjoyed it, I've learned a lot, and a lot of it I feel I owe to you on that. So thank you so much for all your hard work and for your oncoming job. I know you're gonna do a great job. Now, the famous word is let them eat cake. Eating a